Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Robin. I want to welcome you here. My channel is about my 5-year journey of after leaving my husband in a long-term marriage. I am 64, and I am doing this because I want other people who are going through this journey to know that it's possible, that you can do this. When I left a long-term marriage with absolutely nothing, I was alone and had no one to turn to. And I did look on YouTube so many times for like anyone who can help me or been through this. And there was no one. And I felt so alone. And I know I cannot be the only one who has gone through bankruptcy, eviction, married to a narcissist, and leaving a long-term marriage, totally broken. And I know I cannot be alone. So this is going to be a channel about my 5-year journey. Now, my first videos, though, are going to be about, of course, what precipitated this whole journey and how did I get where I am at the moment. So if you would be kind enough to either subscribe or like my video, I would so much appreciate it. So let me recap just a little bit. So my last video was basically that I had to start working again. So I had gone through bankruptcy. I had gone through eviction. I had to put my cat down alone on my birthday. And then my father died. And this all happened in a 2-month period. So my whole life disintegrated before my eyes in a 2-month period. And the vacuum of pain and loss is really indescribable. So we moved to Florida, and we moved into a 2-bedroom apartment that was furnished. And it was okay, but I had to get a job. I got a job at a construction supply company only a mile from our home, which is great because I could go home and at lunch and let our dogs out. However, the job was horrible. First of all, it was stucco and cement everywhere. So that dust got into my my nose, and my allergies would really be bothering me. But I was soldiering on. I was lucky that I had a job. I had to go back to work at 58. So I was grateful. I worked for, and also the situation at the office was the whole place was rat infested. It was horrible. So there was a large nest of rats over my desk. Even the drop ceiling sank down a little bit because the rats were there, and waiting for that thing to just drop on my desk at any time. And then I would have all these flea bites on my legs because the fleas were in the carpet and would bite my ankles and legs during the day. It was horrible. And I worked for a horrible woman. She was a witch. She took advantage of me because she knew she didn't have to pay me much because I was older and desperate for a job. And she abused me endlessly. Even one of the girls that we had to hire for accounts receivable, she once said to me, "Oh, Robin, I don't know why you take such abuse from her." And I told this 26-year-old that, well, when you're my age, you have to take a lot of crap. And I was just getting back into the workforce. So she was horrible. Oh my God. But I did all her bidding because I was grateful to have a job and a paycheck at that point. So we were living in this dumpy little apartment. It was not a nice apartment. It was really old, and the furniture was horrible. And so we lived there for a little bit, and I was working, and my ex finally found a job, and it was selling cars. So on his first day of work, I said to him, he said, "Do you want to wish me luck?" And I just said to him, "Just keep your head down and keep your mouth shut." And when he came home that night, he's like, "That wasn't the nicest advice." But he's someone who is very opinionated and has to tell you his opinion. And so he was a former dealer who lost his dealership. So I said to him, "They're not going to have any respect for you, and they don't want to hear anything from you. So you just do your job." But knowing my ex, no, he has to tell everyone what he thinks. And, oh, they love my ideas. And I'm like, not really. But he never listened to me anyway. Why would he start? So I'm trying to adjust to a new life. I had lost my father, my home, my identity. I didn't know my purpose. I was like, who am I? Where am I? And where's my life? It was all a bad dream. But no, it was my life. It was horrible. But I'm a survivor, and I was just going to just live for the day and make it through that day and just live for the moment. And so we live in a complex in Florida. And it was that penitentiary style living that I call that it's you're behind this huge wall with gates. And I felt like I was the prisoner. My ex loved it because he said it was exclusive, but actually that was the way he grew up. He grew up in Curacao, and the first time I went to Curacao, I went to visit the homes, drive by his homes that he grew up in, and they were all surrounded by a 10-foot wall because they were of the privileged class and they had security issues. So for him, that was normal. I didn't. I grew up in suburbia where I led a very carefree life where there were no walls and we barely locked our doors and it was fairly safe. So I grew up a total different existence. I grew up in New Jersey and solid suburban blue collar people. And so we had just completely different cultural backgrounds to begin with. So he got a job, I was working. And then one day I come home and I said to him that I want to open my own bank account. Well, we had a huge fight. I said to him, I'm opening my own bank account and I would like to contribute, but I want to see the books now. I want to say and where the money is and goes and does. I wanted to say now. Well, that was not going to happen. He's very territorial. He would not capitulate. In fact, he felt assaulted and insulted because of all these years that he had taken care of the money situation. Well, he took care of it so well that he put us in bankruptcy, eviction. He lost everything. But, of course, not taking any responsibility for it. He wanted to make me the scapegoat, that I knew everything going on. That's what he would announce to everyone. He even said to our trustee many times, Robin knew everything going on. I actually didn't. He never showed me right from the start what the financial situation was. He was never transparent with our finances. And to be honest, I can't understand why he felt that way because it was his family's money. It wasn't my money. I married money. I didn't have my own money. And so he was very, affronted when I asked him this. But he had ruined things for our family and lost everything that I wanted to say now. And I told him I was going to open a checking account. Well, that started a whole big fight. And so we moved to a different apartment, an unfurnished apartment, and we would have to supply the furniture. We go into this apartment and we have just our 2 beach chairs and a television that our son gave us to sit on. And I had to buy a blow-up bed, a queen-size blow-up bed for us to sleep in. We had no furniture. And so I had earned enough money where we can go down the street and buy secondhand furniture. So we started furnishing the apartment basically with my paycheck because I focused on basically furnishing our apartment, trying to make it livable. And I'm making dinner one day, and he walks in, and he has this grim face on, and I'm like, hey, are you okay? What happened? And he's like, you're not going to believe it. I got fired. I'm like, ugh, I guess you didn't keep your mouth shut. And we sat down, and I tried to console him and empathize with him because I had been fired, but when I was younger, like when I was 21. But he had never been through that. And I understand the rejection and the hurt, the anger that you go through. And he was just flabbergasted and shocked that happened to him because he knew all about cars and dealerships. And I guess he didn't take my advice of not, telling them what about their own business. And so so all the money I had saved in my checking account had to go through rent, paying for the dogs, vet bills, and everything else. And my savings dwindled down to just a few pennies. And so he got another job eventually. And we started, building up our money. And I then discovered, I realized one day that he had been emotionally and mentally abusing me for decades. And I went into an immediate depression. And I mean, I can't believe I didn't see it. I'm a fairly smart person. I went to NYU. I'm pretty perceptive of people, but I didn't realize it until things started falling apart. And I asked a friend of mine, I was like, how could I have not seen this? And she told me, she said, when you're in love with someone, you don't see these things. And then when you're out of love with them, it's all crystal clear. And when they're abusing you, you feel like they convince you that they're helping you, because I wouldn't tell you these things if I didn't love you. So it is all part of the manipulation and controlling. And I mean, I knew he was controlling, but I believed him all the time because he loved me. Why would he lie to me? Realizing that he was basically just manipulating me for my submission, which I had done because I thought he was always right. Well, not always right, but he must know better than I do. And he must be right because he loves me. He cares for me. I did not know I was being manipulated the whole time. And I'm wife number 2, by the way. Wife number 1 left because she also thought he was too controlling. So there's confirmation for you that I'm not the first wife to leave him. So we were living in this apartment, and when we argued a lot, we bickered a lot because I was taking my life back, and I was a different person. I was a new person. I was a wounded person, and I also had to find my identity, my purpose, and at the same time, I had no one to turn to. I had been seeing a therapist for 22 years. The therapist that he recommended I go to, because it was originally his therapist, and he always wanted me to go because something was wrong with me, not him. And he went once in a blue moon, but hardly ever, because whenever he went, he always felt like he was being ganged up on because he couldn't outmaneuver my therapist verbally. And the therapist, unfortunately, abandoned me. After I lost my money, I never heard from him. He never called, emailed, text to see how I was doing. When I needed him the most, that's when he disappeared. And I'm not going to say therapy wasn't great. It was really great because, first of all, I don't think I would have survived in a 30-year relationship if I didn't have weekly therapy that I was actually very consistent about. I either saw my therapist or I called my therapist because I believe in consistency. And so I think one of the reasons I was able to stay in that marriage so long is because I was seeing a therapist. He also helped me with like my family and my childhood wounds. And also I got so many different strategies for coping with different situations. So it was, to this day, I am so grateful I had therapy because it really gave me a lot of coping mechanisms to deal with life. And so I lost my therapist, so I had no one to turn to. I had no one to really talk to. And let me just say this out, right out there, is that when someone loses all their money and their clout, there's no one there for them. No one really cares about you. No one cares. And in fact, some people are happy you lost your money because they think you didn't earn it and you don't deserve a good life. They're not happy for you. There's a lot of envy and jealousy out there. That's cool. That's their jive, not mine. I'm happy for people when they do well. So things were really going downhill for us at this time because we just, I don't think I liked him anymore. He did not protect our family. He lost all our money. And I don't mind I have to go back to work. I had worked my whole life. So for you out there who think, oh, she had to go back to work. No, I worked my whole entire life. My first job was cleaning law offices. Then I worked at McDonald's, and then I worked my way through school. So I've always worked. I didn't meet my husband until I was 27. We got married at 30. I worked all in my 20s. I was schlepping into New York City from New Jersey. So I I have worked. And so it didn't bother me that I had to go back to work. But I was upset with him for making me the scapegoat. He started telling people I wouldn't accept offers from people who made offers on our home, and I you know I wasn't going to take that. He wanted to treat me like I was the cause of everything. And there was a new sheriff in town, and I wasn't going to take any of this crap anymore. I woke up and I realized that he had been emotionally and mentally abusing me for years, and I was not going to let him, uh, bait me anymore. So I wouldn't engage. Whatever he said, I wouldn't care. And then he'd come back to me, yes, you do care. And I'd be like, no, I really don't care. And then he started realizing, like, wow, Robin has a whole new, different, you know, um, attitude about herself. And I really think he felt, wow, I think I really lost her now. He could no longer manipulate me and control me. And that's when they get worse. When they realize that the jig is up and they can't control you and manipulate you anymore, they get angrier. They come on full force at you. They are even nastier. The fights got worse because they know they lost control of you. And things started to get a lot worse. And I will continue the story another time. But I want to thank you all for joining me. I will be getting to when I finally left and started my 5-year crazy journey. But I want to thank you for joining me. And I want to ask you again if you could subscribe or follow. And I am learning how to YouTube all like right from the ground up. I've never done this before. And so I'm going to learn. I'm learning more, and they're eventually going to be outside, but there's more I have to learn. Yeah, this is all new for me, but I'm loving it. It's a lot of fun. And it's interesting. And you can teach an old dog new tricks. I'm really enjoying this. So I hope you come back, and I hope you join me. So like I said, my videos will be more colorful and getting better. And I also had to get used to being on camera. I'm not used to being on camera. So even on my computer screen, I had to put a little post-it with an arrow up, say, look at the camera, because your instinct is always just go look at yourself. So I had to learn to just look at the camera and talk to a camera because it's not a real person. So again, I hope you have a wonderful day. Join me again next time, and I love you all. And bye, guys.